Chapter 11. The second tarot card. The High Priestess. This card beautifully expresses the mother idea contained in number 2. In the first card we see man standing in the midst of nature and surrounded by all the attributes of power or the ability to rule outwardly. In the second card we find woman veiled and enthroned between the two columns of the temple in the portico or entrance to the inner shrine. She is invested with the insignia of spiritual authority, the robe of purity, the triple crown showing that she must rule on the three planes through her divine motherhood. In her right hand she holds the partly opened book of the law, which, however, is partially hidden from the profane within the folds of her mantle. In her left hand she holds the symbol of her authority as interpreter of the law, possessing its positive and negative keys. The tiara upon her head is surmounted by the lunar crescent, symbol of her feminine functions and her power as the bringer forth of the race. She rules not by might nor by force, but by the mysterious power of mother love, which under the influence of the invisible and periodic forces of the moon enables her to bring forth, as it also does the earth. By the unenlightened the moon is supposed to be but a satellite of the earth, although in reality it is the mother of the earth, the giver of its life terrestrial. In a similar manner throughout many ages, among the spiritually unenlightened, woman has been looked upon as a mere chattel or satellite of man, yet from whom he has ever received his inspiration as well as his physical body, and to whose mystic power he instinctively bows. Even though ignored, degraded, and denied a soul, she has nevertheless swayed nations and kingdoms and been a powerful factor in the world, through the influence proceeding from the sacred inner shrine of motherhood. Woman's true place is as the high priestess of mankind, and she should fill the same position in each home. As we have said elsewhere, true woman is positive upon the spiritual plane, where man is negative, and negative upon the physical plane, where man is positive. To her belongs the control of all those questions which deal with the higher life. She must use her intuition in the directing of all activities pertaining to the altruistic side of life, just as man uses his reason in worldly affairs. She should be man's moral and spiritual monitor and his source of inspiration and spiritual help. She it is, as this tarot card shows, who can open for him the book of the law and inspire him with its truths. For he can read and grasp its real meaning only as he seeks, within the sheltering porch of the temple of Isis, for a true revelation of the mysteries of the mother. The two columns express, from this inner or feminine aspect, the same meaning as the two arms of the juggler in the first card expressed outwardly, i.e., positive and negative, or Jachin and Boaz, justice and mercy. In much of the Moorish architecture, especially in their temples, we find at the entrance two columns united by an arch, with an interlacing of lattice work just beneath it. The symbology of this characteristic form of entrance, either to the home or the temple, is the same as we find in this tarot card, namely, that the two columns, justice and mercy, man and woman, intellect and heart, must be united in the higher aspects of all their forces, and must each send out and interlace their forces over the portal by which humanity must enter the temple of the higher life. On her breast the priestess bears the solar cross, the symbol that must ever express the crucifixion, the effort of spirit to penetrate matter, the light to illumine darkness, and that which is inner and sacred to express outwardly in the life. Hence this symbol upon the breast, over the heart, expresses woman, who ever bears the cross in her heart, while man bears it before the world and fights its battles in the arena of life. The veil represents the sacred mystery of motherhood, not to be rudely lifted by the profane or desecrated by the impious. Whether this be the motherhood that gives birth to the physical body, or the far more sacred and veiled birth of the Christ child within the heart, Isis is represented as having 7 veils, which shroud the mystery of birth. Hence birth is the most profound and sacred of all mysteries, and has its correspondence on the 7 planes of consciousness. The first 2 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, with their corresponding numbers, 1 and 2, as well as the first and second cards of the symbolic tarot, reveal the true relationship of man and woman. God is represented as taking Eve out of Adam's side during a deep sleep, because it was not good for man to be alone. In other words, number 1 pierced the darkness or deep sleep of matter, and when by its brightness it was able to produce its shadow, number 2 came into manifestation. Hence man is the positive or outer expression of the microcosm, and it is man who must fight the outer conditions and make a place for himself, while woman is the inner soul or inspirer or shadow of God to man. That is, since number 1 produced 2 as a shadow or impression in matter, number 2 must have been an inner aspect or the real soul of the manifesting one. For one stands alone until out of its side or heart or inner self it can impress the reality of the light upon the darkness. If we think of number 2 as radiance instead of a shadow, we will get a better conception of its real meaning, for number 2 is the radiance produced by the light of the one piercing the darkness of chaos. Indeed, this is the true mission of woman, i.e., to be the radiance and the light of mankind, giving birth to the ideals of the race. Hence the position held by woman in any country has always indicated its degree of true civilization and progress. Woman should always be the high priestess, reading from the book of the divine law of love in the shelter of the temple, or home, that man in his struggle with outer conditions may catch the radiance of love, truth, and wisdom reflected on his path of attainment. This, however, in no way implies that woman should confine herself to the duties of the household and become a household drudge and mere breeder of the race, for the home or temple is the sacred shrine of inspiration to be found in every walk of life. It should be the duty of every true woman not only to sit within the portal of this shrine, be she engaged in whatsoever duty in whatsoever capacity, but she should also be the inspirer or radiant light leading and guiding man toward ever higher ideals, and to greater efforts toward reaching the goal of his highest attainment, even though she be walking side by side with him. Yet in a mystical sense she should ever be the light set in the window of the home to guide him safely through the storms and darkness of outer conditions. It is also woman's place to cover with her mantle of love and healing the scars and wounds received by man in the battles of life which he fights for her and the home. For within those magic folds the great law shall bring understanding out of confusion, wisdom out of experience, and strength out of failure. In the hands of the mothers of the race rests its salvation, no matter if they be mothers of physical children or mothers of ideals and reforms. Like all things intended for the highest good, the perversion of woman's forces has done more to push man deeper into the mire of selfishness, sensuality, and despair than all other things combined. But the lords of karma, who ever hold a just balance, hold out to woman the opportunity for an advanced step, because of the lessons learned through suffering and degradation. Because the cross has rested heavily upon her heart, the Christ in her has been crucified and must be lifted up that he may draw all men unto him. Woe then to the woman who lives in frivolity and idleness as the plaything of humanity. Woe to the mothers who bring not forth children of light, but perverted temples of iniquity full of pride, lust, and all manner of unworthiness. Woe to the women who, because of pride, vanity, and lust, seek not to inspire man, but to entice, seduce, and enslave him. Woman today stands in the portal of the temple of the new humanity, and only she can throw wide the door. The day is coming when the eyes of all must be opened, and both man and woman behold the living Christ whom they have crucified. In that day there can be no recriminations, one saying to the other, "Thou art to blame," or "Thou didst tempt me and I did eat," for man and woman are one in the sight of God. A perfect humanity must express absolute equality, but not uniformity. The shell of the nut represents the nut to the outer world and protects the kernel, but if the kernel is bad, the nut is worthless.